G'day, how's it going? Today we got Canada, and Canada is not too bad. I like Canada. Nothing to do with the fact that it only took me 3 hours, I'm sure. That's got nothing to do with my opinion on any country. But today, it's a nice, friendly country compared to what we've just been through. And I'll just talk to you about some of my thoughts. So, on this first one, we've got a pretty obvious one. It's all very much pointing towards British Columbia, isn't it? And then you can see the Vancouver skyline to our southeast there. So, trick with this one is just pinpointing it back. For some reason, I look directly north, even though it's clearly southeast. So, figure that one out. Also, again, by the way, with these, oh, no, I was in the right spot. There you go. I was about to mention how it had been at least 6 months since I've done this, so I might not remember everything, and there you go. Right off the bat, got no idea what I'm talking about. Then for the next one, we had a nice easy one with a shit ton of signs, which is always lovely. So the main things I found, if you want to try and replicate this yourself, is just learning the basics of which different province or state you're in, with whether it's Plunkett or the Region Guess and Meta Library or whatever it is. You don't need to know too much. It's just a matter of, even though it only took me 3 hours, it is a bit of patience to get runs that have some sort of information somewhere that can help you out. Because, for example, I got 2 good rounds there, and then I get this third round, which, unless you know what this is, it's quite difficult, because this one took me about 15 minutes to complete this round itself, so I'm going to speed this up to try and save both our time. And yeah, I would talk to you about the main basics of what I found, but yeah, in regards to the beating the country itself, there's nothing too tricky. Yeah, just have to know your basic province details, and then get your 5 rounds that have something to do with what province you're in, and some street name or some landmark that you can pinpoint towards, because otherwise you're in a bit of trouble. But for this one, you might not have noticed, but I don't know what I'm pointing to there. I think I'm pissed. Yeah, I am. I remember I was pissed because I couldn't see what the sign said. But yeah, this is obviously Quebec somewhere because of all the French, and there was no front plates as I was circling on that white SUV before. But as you can tell, I had a look. What I do remember is that I had a look for this sign saying Rang du Haut Saint Francois. Sorry for butchering my French there, but the other thing you may have noticed is I instantly clicked on like 2 kilometers away from where the actual 5k is, but I just spent 15 minutes looking for this thing that does not come up on the map. So I'll just fast forward to the part where I get closer. So at this point I'm just north of Montreal, and I've recognized that the signs say boulevard on them, and a lot of areas around Montreal area tend to say boulevard, as you can tell. A lot of them say bull or BD to signify that it's the boulevard. So if you try and do that, that can be a little handy tip I found after, 175 attempts it took me. But of course you don't all get them in Montreal. But yeah, if you get boulevard, I don't know how consistent this is, but I found it worked. But there's a shit ton of boulevard in Montreal. So something to keep in mind with these ones is when you don't know for sure that you're in the right place, it is very tempting to call it quits and just end it, rather than potentially scanning the wrong city for 20 minutes without getting any extra clues as to where you are. So that's something you got to keep in mind when you play countries like this. But if you've completed it yourself or at the end, and here I found that it is there. The second you see it, you can recognize it completely and the directions and everything. But until you see it, it's one of those ones, isn't it? You don't recognize it. Then for the fourth one, it looks miserable. Completely unexpected for Canada, I know. So here, straight off the bat, it feels like it's going to be a reset, which is a bit devastating because I think this was my first round 4. And then, as you notice, I scan in and I can notice the Manitoba plate. And to me, it looked somewhat built up, so I thought it was going to be Winnipeg, but it turns out it's not. In retrospect, I can tell that it's really not that built up, so it probably makes sense. Something nice here is having the train line. That's always beauty, especially once you've already narrowed down the province. It makes a huge deal when trying to do this no moving. Here I thought I might have noticed that it was like a highway number or road number or whatever. I think it said 74 or something, so I looked for that for a bit. So here I'm doing a second sweep of all the surrounding words or anything that may be used to help me recognize where I could be. So I've obviously got the streets on, but that's not going to help me for the town I'm in. And then I notice this tanker, and it says petroleum on bottom, and it's a bit tricky to tell what it says up top. It feels like the start could say DELA, it could be BE. I'm pretty sure the second letter is E and the third letter is L, but apart from that, it's a bit tricky to try and make out. So I have to have a bit of a look around. I think I'll look through the different suburbs and then end up looking through different towns until I find something that looks similar to what could be the letters on the screen. And then I find here it says Lord Selkirk. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. So now that I know it says Selkirk, I'm like, yeah, this is definitely and obviously Selkirk. So where is it? Turns out that Winnipeg has its own little suburb called Lord Selkirk, but there's also another town to the north called Selkirk. So I've got Selkirk, and then I've got all these train lines going around everywhere, and there's all these different parks, which matches perfectly to where I am. So I thought I had the right spot, but it turns out it's its own town to the north. So as you can see here, I happened to zoom out and then I saw that there was this own town called Selkirk, because I was getting sick of scanning through every bloody train track in the entirety of Winnipeg. So you could say it was a bit lucky. I'd like to say it's a bit skillful, but each to their own. I'll take it and go on to a round 5. It's also always tricky trying to tell which one they consider side roads and which ones they just consider like I wasn't sure if they considered that other small road an entryway or not. It's always a bit tricky when especially when you're a bit nervous as to whether you're going to get it or not. And for round 5, it looks like a good one. Well, good one is being used a bit liberally there, but it looks like it has potential. So as you can notice, there's no front plates on a lot of the cars, which is always, that's probably one of the other absolute main things you want to learn if you're interested in Canada, is the plates and the colors of the plates and stuff, because it helped me on that last one on Manitoba. It helped me on round 3 with the Montreal one, and on this round 5 it helps me. It's not the deciding factor because I see something else, but this silver car beneath me, just there, if I zoom in on it, do I zoom? Yeah. That license plate should give it away. So at this point I think it's New Brunswick, but then I look over here and I see on the building it says MB, which just solidifies it. So at that point I've got a few different things to look at. So there's the creek that says, I'm not going to try and pronounce that word, the creek that is there, and then the street signs had Chartersville, but it didn't. The street signs that were at the traffic lights didn't just feel like they were street names. It felt like they may have been town names because of the fact that it was like so big, and it wasn't just like it had the street off to the side, but then it also said Chartersville up the top. I don't know. I think it's just the street. I can't remember if it's the street or the creek that I find this one on, but it all helps, doesn't it? Information's so much better than getting the random middle of nowhere suburban rounds with zero signage, so. Here I'm just kind of looking through the bigger towns because it feels like a quite a nice area that I'm in. So it's a bit hard to tell. Oh, there you go. It says Dieppe, which is that what it's on? I think one of the signs said Boulevard Dieppe, but when you get these nicer areas, it always makes sense, especially in a place like New Brunswick, to go through the nicer towns. And then there you go. It says Dieppe Boulevard with Chartersville. And then there's the creek next to us. And that's it for you. If you're interested in playing this country, I'd say it's a lot more recommended than a lot of the ones I've played, especially if you have some knowledge, but I wouldn't say it's exactly free. So thanks for watching anyway, and have a good day.